Hello and welcome to Jurassic Reviews. On this episode we'll be taking a look at another Godzilla 2019 figure. That figure is the MegaHouse UA Monsters Godzilla 2019. Before we begin, here's a look at the box it comes in. This box is pretty awesome, featuring some really nice images of the figure inside. Here's the front. Here's the sides. And here's the back. This figure was listed as being a 12-inch figure, but really it stands about 11 inches tall. Its base that it comes with adds another inch, so it's a little bit smaller than most of the 30cm X Plus figures, but still bigger than the 25cm ones. This is my first time getting anything from MegaHouse. I don't think they usually release Godzilla figures. I'm a big fan of the 2019 Godzilla design, and I felt this figure would kind of fill the void for that scale until X Plus releases their 25cm 2019. It is a bit pricier than the average X Plus Godzilla, but that's mostly due to the gimmick, which I'll touch on later. First, let's look at the sculpt. This Godzilla is featured in an action stance, with his arms outstretched a bit and his mouth open in a roar. His tail is also curved back around. I really like this pose, and it looks great from a variety of different angles. Details on this figure are pretty decent, and are close to what you would expect from an X Plus figure. All the scales and bumps look great, with the scales along the legs in particular being a highlight. That being said, I do feel that in certain areas, like around the shoulders and the back of the neck, the details are slightly softer and less defined than I'd like, but it's not a deal breaker by any means. Moving to the head, this is probably the most screen-accurate representation of the legendary Godzilla, outside of the X Plus Gigantic 2019. As much as I like the 2014 Godzilla by X Plus, I feel like the head is just slightly off on that one, but this figure nails it. Even the teeth don't look too bad for the size, as well as the tongue. I normally like closed-mouth Godzillas, but this one looks awesome in his roaring pose. Really looks like he's getting ready to fight King Ghidorah. I actually wouldn't mind if MegaHouse decided to release a King Ghidorah to pair with this guy. So, like I've mentioned in other videos that feature 2019 Godzilla figures, this Godzilla features larger dorsal plates and longer nails on its feet than the 2014 version. The dorsal plates look awesome and are completely translucent. This is due to the light-up gimmick. Even though they are translucent, you can still make out some good details. There is one other aspect of the 2019 design that differs from the 2014 design, and that's the tail. But on this figure it retains the long and narrow tail of the 2014 Godzilla, instead of the rounded and more traditional tail found on the 2019 version. I am not sure why they decided to keep the tail like this, as it makes it sort of a mix of the two designs, but I actually quite like it. I mean, I think both versions of the tail look good, but I think I prefer it being more long and narrow, at least for the legendary Godzilla. So this makes it less screen accurate, but I still think it looks cool. Now let's move on to the paint. For the most part, this figure is pretty flat, paint-wise. I'm assuming this was meant to represent the fight in Boston near the end of the film. Godzilla's body is painted a dark charcoal gray, with some really subtle brownish paint highlighting the scales a bit. It doesn't exactly pop, but it shows the details well enough. Moving to the head, the teeth are painted white and it has a red tongue and mouth. The tiny eyes are painted white and it has black pupils. The paint here is pretty good. I feel like the legendary Godzilla's teeth on figures are always hard to pull off since they are small, but I think they did a good job on this figure. They aren't perfect, there's a few sloppy spots, but it looks fine. The only other variety in paint is the dorsal plates, which are painted blue, to represent Godzilla using his atomic breath. Now let's take a look at the base and the gimmick of this figure. The base has two connections on it, which you plug Godzilla's feet into. I actually recommend that you display Godzilla this way, as not only is it the intended way of displaying it, but it also keeps him from falling over. He can stand without the base, but I don't think it would take much to send him falling forward onto his face. The base is where you activate his two different features. Towards the back there is a switch with the labels on 1 and on 2. If you switch it to on 1, it just causes Godzilla's spines to light up. This light up is pretty good, and much brighter than I was expecting, even when displayed in rooms with a lot of light. When switched to on 2, the light changes and it travels from the bottom of his tail to his head. His eyes light up and his mouth lights up as well. While this is happening, he also lets out 2 roars. They are both the same roar, but the first one is cut short. It sounds a little awkward, but is still loud and clear. After he finishes roaring in this mode, he just stays with his dorsal plates lit up, basically the same as the first mode. It's a nice gimmick, though I don't think the increased price makes it worth it. I feel like for the price, the base could have been a little more creative, maybe some rubble or destroyed buildings. The current base is pretty bland. It's all black and just features a sticker that you put on yourself that says Godzilla 2. I don't see myself using the light and sound features too often, but they aren't bad by any means. Before I give my rating for this figure, here's a comparison with other figures. For this comparison, I'm mostly going to keep him off of his base. Here he is with the X Plus Godzilla 2014. Here he is with the Yuji Sakai Godzilla 1991. Here he is with the X Plus D for Real Godzilla 2019. Here he is with the X Plus Godzilla 1999. And here he is with a few of my other Godzilla 2019 figures. For a rating out of 10, I give this one an 8.5. I think this is a pretty awesome figure, though a bit overpriced. The sculpt is well done and the paint is decent enough. The light and sound gimmick is cool, though I'm not sure how often I'll use it. I recommend this one if you're a big fan of the 2019 Godzilla design. I hope MegaHouse releases more Godzilla figures in the future, as I think they did a pretty good job on this figure. And that does it for the MegaHouse UA Monsters Godzilla 2019. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.